What is a lead pedestrian interval? How would you even be able to identify it? And if you have a visual impairment, how would you cross this type of intersection? If you're an orientation and mobility specialist, or you are a person with a visual impairment and you're just curious about how to cross this really complex kind of intersection, definitely stay tuned. Hi, I'm Cassie Maloney. I'm an orientation and mobility specialist as well as the founder of Allied Independence. We provide 21st century teaching techniques so that you can help increase the independence of your learners with visual impairments. And today we are talking about lead pedestrian intervals. I'm not going to be the only one that you see on this screen. In a minute, I'm going to introduce you to somebody who taught me about this. And I've really taken this information from the International O&M Online Symposium from my friend and mentor, Meg Robertson, and I've really been looking at this over the past year or so. And here is what is happening. So at a lead pedestrian interval, the intersection looks and operates very much like a normal intersection. And it even will often have an accessible pedestrian signal. Now, if you are curious about what an accessible pedestrian signal is, please check out our video all about accessible pedestrian signals. And then you can also check out the video about the challenges of accessible pedestrian signals. Now, once you understand what those are, which is really the beep that you hear from the big pole and from the light that you'll see, either the walk or the hand or the person that looks like they're walking, that over there, that's called a ped head. And that information should sync up both visually and auditorily so that people with visual impairments can get the information that they need in order to make the best decision about their crossing. The accessible part is the auditory part. Now, what we found is that lead pedestrian intervals are even trickier to cross. Here's Meg Robertson from the International Orientation and Mobility Online Symposium sharing what a lead pedestrian interval is.
Leading Pedestrian Interval, the LPI. And I mentioned this earlier, as a pedestrian signal displays the walk, the white stick figure with vehicles held. All the vehicles are held with red for 3 to 5 seconds. This allows pedestrian to begin the crossing before the right turning cars and or the surge. So if you don't know this is an LPI and pedestrians start crossing and you're like, why are they crossing? You already missed, as a blind pedestrian, you already missed the top of your walk signal, the most time to cross, especially if you're waiting for the surge. And drivers aren't expecting the pedestrians to cross late, and you may not have enough time to complete the crossing with the walk signal on. And again, if there's right on red, drivers will turn on the red signal. So there's a lot of things to be aware of.
So with a lead pedestrian interval, the pedestrians are going to cross before the cars. This is much different than we had previously been taught as orientation and mobility specialists. And now, because traffic engineering has increased and changed, we are changing how we teach. Let's go out to the intersection real quick. We'll give you a good overview of what's going on, and then we'll come back in here and I'll walk you through, if you're an orientation and mobility specialist or if you're a person who has a visual impairment, how you're going to need to cross this specific kind of intersection. Right now we're at an intersection that has a lead pedestrian interval. What you'll notice is that the accessible pedestrian signal will go off about 7 seconds before the cars get to go. Let's listen. And if you were counting that was a little bit more than 7 seconds. So what ends up happening is if you were to wait until the surge, you would only have about 20 something seconds to cross all of these lanes of traffic. The question is, can you cross that many lanes of traffic in time? And that is where
things get a little tricky as an O&M specialist.
So while we were out there, you could see and hear that the lead pedestrian interval was actually that full 7 seconds. Depends on how fast I count. Sometimes I'm like 7, and then it goes. But 7 seconds nonetheless. That means that you have 7 seconds as a pedestrian before the cars are going to come. And if you choose to cross only after the cars start to go during the beginning of the surge, which is what we had been taught to do in the past, you are then pretty late to your street crossing. And at that intersection, we had 22 to 24 seconds to be able to cross. Not that long for 4 lanes of traffic. So the current recommendation, and luckily, oh, I love you, Donna. Love you, Donna. Donna Sauerberger sent me her documents on this specific subject. And because she just does so much research, sometimes you just have to lean into the people that you have in your community. And thankfully, because of the O&M Symposium, Donna Sauerberger is one of the people in my community, which the best, absolutely the best. And she's like the kindest, sweetest person. But what she recommends is always going with the walk signal. Now, what that means as an O&M specialist is that your learner is going to need something other than the traffic to line up with, because the curbs, we know, not the thing to line up with. So that part is very, very, very tricky, and you're going to need to teach your learner to go out to the curb as always, possibly find something in the shape of the curb to tell you, okay, this is how it needs to feel when I get back. Turn around, press the ped button. You have to press that ped button all the time now. You don't know if it's actuated. You don't know if it's a lead pedestrian interval. You always have to find that ped button, and it's always tricky to find the ped button. But you got to do it. And then go back, remain oriented, and line up perfectly so that way you could start to cross and not veer. This is going to be the trickiest part to teach and the trickiest part to do. If you have a visual impairment, I highly suggest you reach out to your orientation and mobility specialist and get some specific training on that. But that's where you guys, we really as a profession need to be on top of our game. I hope that this was helpful in introducing you to lead pedestrian intervals. Leave a comment below if you have started to notice lead pedestrian intervals in your city and in your surrounding areas. And as always, let's get this YouTube channel growing. Like, subscribe, all that jazz that everybody has to say, because I really want to be able to continue to bring you this information in such a way it's just so fun to be able to bring it to you this way, and I think it's much more helpful. All right, until next time, I will see you soon.